My guest today is Ayub Sheikh. Now, Ayub is a wonderful guest. You want to stick around for this one because we're going into all things leadership and AI. He's a multi award winning tech coach and speaker. He is leading in tech recruitment and he's a leading tech recruitment specialist. He's the founder of a wonderful company called Holistica Consulting. Also, he's the founder of the Holistica Online Training Academy. So you want to check that one out. And he is serving leaders globally. He's an AI enthusiast, as you know, and we are going to delve into his expertise, his opinions, and visions of what the future of leadership looks like. So, Aya, welcome to the Think Link Link podcast. How are you today?
I am very well, Bijal. What a build up. Thank you so much for that.
Well, look, I'm very, very happy that you're here today because we are talking about things that people might be a little bit frightened of. And I know that you're going to bring a balanced view. So, look, tell us a little bit about your background and experience.
Well, as you've kind of alluded to, I've been a global coach and a speaker for gosh, over 24 years now. And my main focus has always been around demystifying technology for those people who are really from the business side of things. So people who are expected to mix it with people from IT. So an example would be the IT recruitment industry, where recruiters are expected to know what they're talking about when they're discussing IT CVs and job specs. But how can you if you don't understand the technology? So it could be recruiters, but I've been asked to demystify IT for leadership, project managers, anyone who really needs to understand the changing nature of technology. That's me.
Mm. See, you wouldn't have thought all those years ago that technology would play a part in recruitment, actually, because recruitment is always such a people business, isn't it? But
It,
now you're using AI, and we're going to go into it later on. So I'm really glad you're here. Okay, so they call you the tech whisperer. All right. They call you the tech whisperer. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, this was weird. This was ever since I started delivering the IT recruitment masterclass, which is our IT recruitment masterclass demystified to audiences globally. They started to refer to me as this. And it was simply because I kind of realized people from the business needed someone on their side to simplify, to kind of digest the new and emerging concepts, and really then just sort of present it to them in layman's terms so that the average person could understand concepts like blockchain, machine learning, Java development. And of course, today the problem is that for your average person, technology is just going mad. It's expanding at such a pace, and it's just becoming more ethereal, really, more of a dark art. It's out of our grasp now, especially in recent times. So I'm having to work harder at finding the best ways to describe these ideas like AI and agents and how they're going to impact all of our lives, especially in a recruitment context. But I do love this stuff, so it's a passion for me, and I can understand how people are getting pretty overwhelmed with this and what's going on out there at the moment.
And I think the overwhelm is to do with confusion as well, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah. There is, and every day the game is changing.
Oh my goodness. Every day the game is changing. Got to keep up. This is why you got to listen to the Think Link Lead podcast because I bring you the best of expertise. Now, I have to say, I'm very, very impressed and so proud because you recently won an award. And this award, I mean, the title of this award, the Visionary CEO Award, and it was given by the CXO conference. And I think that was in the UAE, wasn't it? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I literally just came back from there in December. Yeah, that was quite an honor. I was invited to apply on the basis of some of the things I'd been posting and teaching online on just the changing nature of IT and what I felt its impact was going to be on the nature of leadership and the C-suite in the future. So they obviously hooked up on that. And there have been many more paradigm changes in tech in the last 18 months than I've seen over the last decade. So I've just been speaking about it, talking about it, and it's obvious that leadership and decision making and just strategic planning are going to be just done in a very different way as we move ahead. So it was really tremendous to be, recognized by the CXO and actually go over to Dubai and to receive that. So yes, that was in December. That was awesome.
I know. I saw the photographs on social media. It looked very, very lovely. So you actually went there face to face. This wasn't an online ceremony. You went there face to face. Oh my gosh, how did it feel to receive that award?
It was, especially when I saw the others who were there and the sort of people who had arrived from all over the world, to be put into that category. That was, quite humbling, really. And yes, I mean, it was my team and myself as an effort who put all of our stuff together. But just to be recognized as someone who has a voice in this area is huge. Yeah.
I mean, you do. I know they call you the tech whisperer, but you do have a massive voice in that industry. So that's great. But you've actually got some other awards as well. So tell us about that.
It was weird because I was flying out on that day to Dubai for CXO, and I know that I was booked in to also sit in on an awards ceremony for the Illumi Awards, which is they're our own LMS system where we house our online training academy, the Holistica Training Academy for recruiters. So we house it on a system called Illumi. They're based in Denmark, and they just said, "Look, you need to attend." I said, well, I can't on that day because I'm flying out. So they can say you can do it online. And I thought, okay, well, as I'm off to the airport before that, I'll just sit in. And I knew we were shortlisted, but then amazingly, they presented us with the award for the best training product on their platform. So Holistica's online training recruitment academy came top of that. And again, that was against some really stiff competition. There were some big names. So again, that was awesome. And I was flying high as a kite as I went out to Dubai. Yeah.
Oh my goodness me. Right. This is this is not normal, but this is normal in your life.
No, it's
So
not.
so you were going to the airport to receive an award, and then you had to jump on to online to receive another award on
Yeah.
the same day.
It was a good month. December was nice.
There you go. See, look, I mean, credentialed up there. This is why we bring these expertise onto the podcast. So, look, you've also got the training academy. You mentioned, that it's now award winning and the products have won some awards. So, tell us a little bit about the training academy.
It's bizarre, that one. Serendipity seems to play a lot in my life, in terms of about 6 years ago, I just realized I couldn't. I'm a global speaker. I travel around the world, and I've been doing this. And then, of course, it kind of gets tricky when people who are a team of three invite you to go out to somewhere like Dubai or wherever to deliver a training course. And slowly that becomes a bit of a chore. So the idea came about that shouldn't we start filming? And this was, about 7 years ago. Shouldn't we start filming and putting this all online? And then maybe we can have one of these newfangled, online platforms so that I won't have to fly out for two people. So we created this online training academy around that time. And, as well, luck would have it, if you want to call it that, COVID struck. And so we were ideally positioned to really push this as a training medium so that, yeah, work can stop, but you can still get your people trained up. And so we were positioned in a place where all of our key clients could still use the training, still come on to online and just do the training so that people could carry on with their careers. And so that's where the online training academy for technical recruiters came about. And now it's continuing. It's being used globally by recruitment companies. And of course, not everyone can afford to set up an entire one day, on site or an event. And so even individuals can train themselves up using the academy, and we certify everyone. So it's, now it's there to bring IT recruiters to a high level of expertise so they can stand out in their career. It takes you from the very basics right up to, training stuff like blockchain and AI recruitment. But this means that even if your team isn't big enough to bring me in for a seminar or do it online, you can even get two people trained up. And of course, the beauty of this is, for example, we are now putting the use of AI in recruitment going up as a course. So the turnaround is so fast with this, because as soon as an idea hits here, then you can immediately put it online and put it out there as a training course. So that's the lovely thing about the online academy. Yeah.
Wow, so there's a real pathway of products there.
Oh yeah, yeah, and constantly evolving. That's one of the things I've realized, that it can't be static. Of course, you've got the classic stuff, but then you've got to include the continuous evolving nature of tech as well, because that's what recruiters are faced with every day. You know, the new stuff they see on CVs and job specs has to be has to be included in the training.
Okay, so look, we're here to talk about AI and we're here to talk about leadership. So, look, I'm just going to ask you because you are the expert here. Okay, we know that AI is going to impact leadership somehow. We kind of have an idea, some people don't, but we can balance that out here. So, you know, what how do you think AI is impacting leadership, and what do we need to be aware of before we get into the balancing? What do we need to be aware of?
This is such a pivotal time in history. I cannot tell you, in terms of corporate culture, because I think the integration of AI into leadership now is just going to reshape how leaders operate in the future. And I'm not making any apologies for that level of statement. You know, how they make decisions, how they even interact with their own internal teams, everything is going to be painted with AI. This is going to happen across a number of areas within the entire leadership remit, if you like. So if you think about the pace at which AI systems are able to, just gather data, assimilate it, and then provide amazing insights and predictions for someone as a CEO, it's obviously going to be a key tool to provide unprecedented, predictive capabilities. So all of this means that future managers are really just going to be so much more informed and capable of faster decision making. So that's going to impact the culture completely. It's going to take a lot of the guesswork and intuition out of the role as well. The other thing is, the stuff we like to do as humans is the stuff that we can do. So what AI does is it takes away the repetitive tasks. It automates the repetitive tasks such as scheduling, data entry, basic reporting, that sort of thing. It's the stuff we don't like. So it's good. It's good for that, but for us, it frees us up as leaders to focus on strategic initiatives, focus on innovation, and of course, focus on nurturing relationships with teams and clients, which is the human thing. But all of this, honestly, is going to mean such a new style of leadership, and I just kind of wonder what MBAs of the future are going to be like, because this is going to be a new style of leadership which puts AI at the very core of their thought process. They'll need to be visionaries who will know how to introduce AI to their culture and then create sort of governance frameworks that allow AI to be used on so many levels. So, it's just going to touch us across the board. All of this is going to mean that AI will start to just ignite a new leadership style. And that's my opinion. It's going to make leadership more insightful, more collaborative. And of course, if trained properly, it's going to force leadership to always monitor things like diversity and sort of bias issues as well that might seep into the culture. And they will need to understand AI for that. Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that. I mean, that is very insightful. And one of the things that you just said in that conversation, it's going to force us to focus on relationships. So,
Yes.
in a way, people are scared that it's going to take away that human element. But you're saying actually it will make us, focus more on that.
I honestly do think that it will alleviate the mundane, repetitive parts of our role. And I'll talk about recruitment later on, but just allowing us to be more creative. If I look at our own example, our team hasn't diminished because of AI. It's increased because of AI. Because what happens when you bring AI in is creativity increases.
Mm.
You don't worry about the mundane things. You actually start leaving that over to the automation, and you get on with the things we're designed to be doing as humans. Yeah.
Wow. So it's increased your team.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 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 yeah. The problem, the problem now is I just wake up with crazy bunches of ideas, but I know now that those ideas can be implemented so swiftly because AI just lowers the barriers to entry. If you've got I mean, look, you can paint, you can create photos, you have got a studio at your fingertips where, something like Midjourney can create the most cinematic art pieces, works of art. And so anything that you can create, music, everything that you can think of is now doable without crazy budgets. And so what that has meant for me is I just get my managers or operational people to say, all right, go find two more people, I need them to come and help me write a book, and suddenly it's done. And
Mm.
it's very, very freeing if you're a creative. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, you're really making me think, because all of the media and things we read and, conversations with our friends that we have about AI, actually your perspective is really balancing this out. It's actually reassuring me. So thank you very much. And it's the way it's articulated is just so clear and so balanced. And I think that this is what we're about on the Think Link Lead podcast. Now, Ayub, you ready to have a little bit of fun?
Go
Okay.
on.
I've got a
Go on.
little fun question for you. You don't have to answer it. Well, actually, he does, listeners, doesn't he? Because I'm going to ask it.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Okay, look, I have heard, actually, I have read that a company has now got an AI CEO as their leader, right?
Yes,
Okay, so I read this. I don't know if it's verified. I don't know if it's true. Google tells me it's true. I looked into it. It looked true.
it is.
What are your thoughts about this?
I love this idea, and I think, I mean, all sorts of things are going off in my head at the moment when I was thinking about anything like this. But I love this idea and I think that all boards should actually have some sort of non-human AI representation alongside the human C-level,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Because what you've got here is, if you've got something like an AI CEO sitting next to you, or COO, there'll be a truly unbiased entity, and it's an unemotional expert who's doing C-level thinking, but who can express their views completely unencumbered by the fear of criticism or failure, our human failings, and then make decisions without emotional biases. How can that be a wrong thing? Now, I know that I think what you may have read about was Anthropic, because they toyed with this a couple of years ago with I mean, I think it was a bit of a gimmick, but there was a thing called Mika, and they gave her a proper body. So it was, you can't
mm.
merge robotics and AI too much together, because they're two separate things. But a Chinese company called NetDragon did install a proper AI CEO, and funny enough, it did manage to outperform Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index in 6 months since it was appointed. So,
What?
this cannot be a bad thing. There's got to be something there. Um, it will get weirder, Bijal, because think about this. What would then prevent you from hiring the persona of another elite CEO? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah,
Why
yeah.
does it have to be a CEO trained by you? It could be an elite CEO from somewhere else. And this is the idea. I thought, I don't know if I may be teaching Granny how to suck eggs. You're quite techie, but a cloud term, anything as a service, right? So you've got software as a service.
Mm.
So could you eventually in future have C as a service? Someone actually providing um, CEO level advice as a service in your organization. And so lots of weird paradigms start to come out when you start thinking like this.
I mean, that's really interesting, because as you're talking to me, I'm a very patterns and trends kind of person. And
Yeah.
thank you for saying I'm quite techie. I didn't think so, but all right, I take a compliment. Okay, I'm looking at this as having an AI CEO or an AI accompanied CEO. You're going to be more consistent.
Yes.
You are going to make less mistakes, probably.
Yes.
Not always, right? And you're going to be more effective, more efficient. Things will happen quicker. And the decision making, which is the interesting part you talked about, is going. Did I get this right? It will take out the intuition part.
Yes, this is exactly. And when you think about what us humans have, we do have intuition, which is an amazing thing, but we also have innate biases. We also have our the way we make decisions are a result of, that particular human's upbringing. And what if you've got someone who's sitting there next to you who will cross-check against that? So they'll mitigate things like biases, and they'll bring in maybe the way you're speaking and the way you're presenting reports doesn't have diversity and inclusion included in that, in that linguistic. And so an AI will be there to put you right, and just to remind you of putting in a framework to behave in a certain way. And so that can't be a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, when you put it like that, that is true. That is insightful. So take notes, everyone. When you listen to this podcast, especially this episode, take notes, okay? And, look at some of these things that Ayub is speaking about, because when you're having those conversations with your teams, with your friends, your family, you can balance things out as well. Okay, so let's move on. I wanted to talk about the impact of AI in the workplace and leadership. I know you've touched on it a bit, but
Sure. Yeah.
let's go a little bit further. So, specifically, how does this impact the workplace and leadership?
Yeah, everything we're speaking about here, obviously little nuggets of those come into play, but I think allowing AI to permeate key areas of the workplace will just make it pretty much a superpower for leadership and HR, especially in understanding the needs of your employees and what your workplace culture really is like. So just simply the ability to, maybe know beforehand that certain employees might be, coming to the stage where they might be looking elsewhere. That's a huge insight. So a predictive analytical agent would be able to constantly monitor that sort of thing, and be able to just flag this up to someone that, this person looks like they may be getting frustrated, or they may be getting to a stage where they're bored with their particular function. But beyond this, creativity and the freedom from sort of mundane tasks that I mentioned earlier is going to just make our roles much more fun and exciting. The idea that you have a virtual assistant at every level, it's not just leadership, but remember, these little agents can go down to at all levels and help every single person in the organization. They can take care of all the boring stuff so that we can allow our employees, the human ones, to do what they're great at, and that is awesome. An example I give is let's go into the recruitment industry, because that's the one I'm really obviously
Mm,
involved in. Um, Changing jobs. That's what recruitment is about. So you're finding someone a job is a very human thing, and only a human can really appreciate the enormity of a job change for another human. And so, an AI system is not going to be able to appreciate what this momentous occasion is in someone's life. So that's huge. But no one joins recruitment to spend their days trawling through hundreds of CVs every day, because that's actually what recruitment was for 20 years. Or no one joins recruitment to chase around after candidates to pin down a suitable interview time. What a waste of time. But recruiters have been doing this. They've been process jockeys for the last 2 decades. And that really has become 70% of the role. Now, that's the mundane stuff that takes up all of our time in recruitment. But then that's the stuff that an AI system is great at. So you can set, let's say you can set one agent off to go off and do the first trawl of millions of CVs online, and even do a really thorough matching process. So they can come back and they'll bring it down to a precise list of those candidates who are worth following up. Then imagine there's another agent that does this and then does a cross check against the distance of the home address to the potential place of work. So they can do all of this, and then it will be able to predict which candidates are more likely to take the job seriously because they're closer to the place of work. They're based on the time to travel to work. So all of this could be done in the background for you, whilst yet another agent then makes the calls. And as a chatbot, maybe even in your own voice or your email tone, it starts a conversation with all those shortlisted candidates, and then starts to ask them about their availability for an initial call. Now, can you imagine how much time that's taken, out of the recruiter's role? So human recruiters then focus on the stuff which they're great at, the emotional intelligence side of things,
Hmm.
the selling of the job and its perks to the candidate, the selling of the candidate and their strengths to a client, or the painting of this picture about what the candidate is going to get from, from this particular new role, negotiations, that sort of thing. So there are distinct lines where AI will impact the entire workplace, which they are great at, but there'll be other areas where humans are likely to excel at, and more so because all the rubbish stuff has been taken out of their hands. That's a long
Hmm.
answer, isn't it? But it's just such a huge area which we're so passionate about.
I just am hearing so many new things today.
You will. It's just such a changing landscape.
This is not what we hear on the news. This is not what we hear in the media.
No. And it's when you are steeped in this, like we are, because I'm literally putting out a 30 article newsletter series, on LinkedIn about AI's impact on recruitment, and then we're going to create a training course on the back of that. So when you're steeped in, you just have to pause and think, good grief, this is just going to be revolutionary everywhere.
Yeah, I think that's the right word, revolutionary. And actually, I'm starting to see how it can make our life better. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, I don't know if I'm saying this word right, but as I was preparing for this podcast with you, because you have to prepare, and I've got a lot of knowledge, so I had to do some work here. I'm hearing this word. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Okay, agentic.
Go for it. That was perfect.
Oh, there you go. Right. So I'm hearing this word agentic, and it comes up when you are Googling AI or delving into anything associated with AI. What does this mean?
This is the word that this should be the word of the decade, or at least the word of the year, because we're going to hear it a lot in 2025, 26. And this is basically a term that refers to the next level of automation. So what are agents? Agents are, of course, they're programs, they're AI programs that take care of a particular process. But rather than just automation, agents can actually make further more complex decisions on the back of what they've just done.
Mm,
So think of them like an army of little bots that will go off and do whatever you've trained them to do, and that's what an agent is. Now it's huge, but the reason you're seeing it, or hearing it everywhere, is because there is now an entire sort of flourishing industry based around this. I cannot believe when I first heard the word, maybe in a hotel in Switzerland somewhere in December 2023. And then if I look at it now, there's an entire flourishing industry based around this. You go onto YouTube, you put agentic automation, and you will just be hammered, just like the early days of web development, where HTML developers were everywhere. This is the year of AI automation agencies, and they are sprouting up everywhere. Kids are doing it from their bedroom, and they will offer to design and sell you agents for your particular need. And it could be a chatbot for a plumber in London to handle incoming calls, because how many incoming calls do you miss if you're out and about doing your stuff? Or, as in the case of recruitment, it could be offers of agents that can handle all the automation processes within the whole recruitment stream. And so that is happening. You're seeing it a lot, and I'm worried about this to a certain extent, because the problem is that the things are moving really fast, and what might have been an amazing agent just 2 months ago, and I've seen this firsthand. I've seen early 2024, people selling agents for thousands and tens of thousands to companies that thought this is so flipping neat. I mean, this is just amazing. And then for it only to be released as a free feature in ChatGPT today. You know, so for
mm,
example, I created an agent. We did this in house, that goes out and searches the internet for breaking news every day. And this is how we operate. So there's an agent that goes out there, uh, and looks for breaking news, to anything to do with technology, and then it reports back to me every morning. So every morning I've got a lovely email to say, have you gone and seen this? Have you seen this? But ChatGPT recently just blended that into a thing called tasks. So all I need to do with one prompt is give ChatGPT this task, and it would do it automatically for me. I don't need an agent. So more and more of those things are being blended into off-the-shelf, often free products, which is why I'm wondering what AI agencies are doing at the moment and thinking. Because here are they having poured millions into development in Python and various other systems, when suddenly a lot of this stuff is just commoditized. So that is, and the other beauty of agents, I mean, the magic really starts to begin when you start coupling and daisy chaining these agents together. Then it just becomes a thing of startling beauty. Imagine that one agent, and by the way, we've created some of these, one agent that goes out and finds me the breaking news headlines, but then it passes it over to another Perplexity agent that analyzes what's just been broken on the news, and then assimilates it and creates a basic article for me in my tone. And then it passes the article over to me as an email, which I then rewrite, pass it over to another agent. Three more agents are waiting. One of them turns that article into a snappy LinkedIn post. Another one will turn it into a beautiful Facebook meme. And then another one goes out and finds suitable video clips to attach it and make it into a TikTok post. Now, all of these things are created by my bot army, who are ready while I'm having breakfast. And it will all be done. So agents are going to be everywhere in our lives. Agents will be the new app, to be honest.
I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's like having your very own, as you said, team for
This is
you
it.
to do things in the way you do it, but they don't get tired.
This is it. They work 24/7. They don't get tired. You give them a new instruction. There's no quibble. They will jump onto it and they will get on with it. And you can imagine, again, it comes to barriers to entry. A one-man woman show can just behave like a real crack team, you know and so you become a one woman army, and more of that will happen, but it's just restricted to the level of creativity you have. So that's what agents will allow us to do, and I think that's a good thing.
I mean, really leading the way for entrepreneurship, right?
Yes, I honestly do think this is what I'm seeing, that it's opening up the market for people in a lot of the developing countries.
Yeah.
You're seeing so many women, just underrepresented people coming into STEM areas, because suddenly they've just found not only the voice but the tools that they can, use to get the job done as well.
Okay, so you've gone into it a little bit through examples, but just very quickly, how has AI impacted your business?
Well, as I said, I've implied that we have just changed tremendously. And this has happened. I can pin the date down. I mean, this has happened since like September last year, if I really think about it. Um, I was in Brighton, and it was literally the time we were sitting there having fish and chips, and it was just like an epiphany. I just realized what the potential of all of this was. And then if I look, it's 6, 7 months from there. And as a company, we have undergone such a transformation in that second half of 2024. We don't recognize ourselves as a company or even as a team. So what we did, and what everyone, including you, Bijal, should do,
Oh, yeah.
is
Listening.
carry out an AI audit. Is simply sit there and just think, okay, what do I do every day? What could be automated by an agent? And what are the processes that I really don't like doing, but just so repetitive? And then as a result, we did that AI audit. As a result, we brought in AI, not just to streamline our processes, but also to help with our creativity and ideation. And that's where it just kind of blew up. That was the biggest surprise. It's enhanced our scope as a training company. So we can train recruiters across more markets and really in more novel ways. We create shorts, we create cards. We just come out with new ways of doing things. So the other surprise, contrary to popular belief, is that AI pushed us to, as I said, not cut staff, but actually expand the team and to actually take on more people to execute, the crazy stream of ideas that AI generates in me every morning. So it's fun, really. It's a very exciting time.
Yeah, because I'm just really trying to conceptualize this in my like quite logical mind,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm thinking
Logical is
I
good.
can see how this can give leaders more time, actually humans more time just to be.
Yeah,
And I can also see how it can be in the beginning, it might give you a little bit less time because you have to just put everything in place, right?
that's it. That's where the investment of time will go.
Mm,
But I don't think that any business has ever invested their time more wisely than what they're about
mm.
to do with this. Yeah,
Okay, so we're talking about the recruitment process because, essentially you've got a recruitment business as well.
yeah,
And I had a friend and we were having coffee the other day and she said works with the NHS and she's a leader and she said she'd put out for a specific job.
yeah.
And she said she just ended up receiving identical applications because people are putting in job specs and people, putting in the descriptions. So
Yes,
you've got your job description, and then you've got your person spec, right?
that's right.
Putting it into AI and coming out with almost identical applications. So what is the differentiating factor here? I'm going to answer my own question. You can tell me if it's right or wrong,
Go
right?
on, go on.
I said to her, well, then I think the differentiating factor is looking at their experience because that's not going to be the same.
Yeah,
Looking at some of their previous responsibilities and obviously looking at applications that are not AI generated as well. But
yeah.
just you see, for me, if someone AI generates an application, that's quite clever. you know,
But
it's
isn't I think you may
effective.
have answered it. Isn't there an I thought you were going to go on to say you can spot it. You know, I think we are getting very good at knowing when that video is AI generated and when that piece of text is AI generated.
Mm,
Um, and I think that may be the savior that we will see, yeah, 100 CVs come back with exactly the same personal statement or something similar, right? And you know it's created by AI, but then there'll be that one that stands out, and it will just be one that is just so obviously full of human depth and their personal life experience. And what will happen is we will create a system to filter out those that look like they're generated and those that are much more human and look like that it is a proper personal statement, and that will be given preferential treatment, of course.
okay. Well, that see, there you go. I should have said that, right?
I'm sure that's where you're going.
I was, I'm quite informed like that. No, I am now. But no, that's very informative. Thank you. Because, I am having a few of those conversations with some of my HR friends.
Hmm.
Okay. Ayub, as I was preparing for this podcast, I came across another phrase. So if you could talk to me about this, what does this mean? AI persona. What is this?
It's just going to get weirder, I'm telling you now. You know, so an AI persona, I guess if you're using ChatGPT properly, even you are creating an AI persona, because whenever you train something like a GPT system, and you give it this kind of outline of who you are a world-class content creator, you are a world-class author in the area of whatever. So what is an AI persona? An AI persona is a meticulously crafted digital character that imitates the behavior and qualities of a real human. And I'm not joking. By the end of 25, I think chatbots will just take on the personas of the recruiters who they represent, which is not a bad thing. If it sounds a little weird, it isn't. It's something that which I think we all will need to get used to, because if you want your DeepSeek or ChatGPT agent to behave like you, eventually over time, it needs to know who you are. So I've trained Perplexity and I've trained GPT models to think and act like me when answering questions from my teams. And in leadership, what that means is that you could start to create a CEO with the persona or the combined persona of the best people at the C level, and that would be the persona of your CEO colleague that you've got sitting next to you. And as I said, get this, you could potentially install the persona of another successful CEO. Imagine that. A The CEO of a competitor, their persona could be put into the digital CEO that you've got on your advisory board. So you could actually have a digital Elon Musk sitting next to you, advising you, and that may or may not be a good thing. But you can see where this is going, and it sounds a bit Blade Runner-ish, but at the end of the day, well, we're going there. Yeah, I'll tell you that now.
What? So okay, so my AI bot, I could train it to think like me and basically be like me.
Oh, it's the first thing you do.
Right.
You know what prompt engineering is. You know when you go on to ChatGPT and you
Yeah,
say,
yeah, yeah.
"Do this for me," but you can spend a lot of time, and there is a proper framework which people teach you. I know it, and a proper prompt for training GPTs is about 2 or 3 pages long, and it will tell it exactly what its background is, exactly who I am, and then you can go and give it a PDF of books that you've written, things that you've done, your website, and it will study it. It will take time. So for something like deep research, which is one of the things that's just come out, it will take it, you'll see it go away and think, and it won't just give it to you immediately. It will come back 15 minutes later and say, good, I'm good now. And then you'll say, who are you? And it will say, great, I'm Ayub Sheikh. I'm a tech recruitment trainer globally. And it will start to use your conventions and your mannerisms. So
Mm.
it definitely, that is the way to go when you are asking your GPTs to behave like you. So they will go out into the world and they will carry your ethics and they'll carry your mannerisms.
Mm. I mean, well, that's good. I could send over my little AI bot to go and do
A
something
little
because it would
mini
be like
Bijal,
me. Oh my goodness,
an
this is
army of mini Bijals, of course.
well, there you go. Look at that. I mean, this really is for me, as I'm hearing you speak, thinking to myself, with so many people, I don't have facts and figures for you. This is just my opinion
Yeah,
of redundancy now being so high,
yeah.
um, leading and paving the way forward for entrepreneurship because AI can help you.
I think so. I think so. It's just a very optimistic statement to make, to say nobody's going to be affected by this. Of course, people are going to be affected by this. But as I said, I'm creating a newsletter on LinkedIn where I've already written 30 articles, in preparation for a book. But in there, you always have to go back and kind of compare it to the Luddite rebellion, where the textile manufacturers in the 18th century
Mm.
thought that these newfangled machines were going to take our jobs, and they started to destroy everything. We are facing something similar, and as I said in my AI course many years ago, thank goodness it comes to pass, is that um, 80% of the jobs that our children and grandchildren will be doing have not been invented yet.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
and we are seeing that come out now. There was no such thing as a prompt engineer 10 years ago. We didn't even understand what that was. So in the same way, we will have greater jobs. But there'll be a need to kind of constantly upgrade yourself and be continually learning. So
Right.
this will be a place for adaptability. Yeah.
So prompt engineering. So for listeners, I know Aya has spoken about this, but this is basically what you input into like things like
GPTs and
yeah,
chatbots.
GPTs and things like that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So therefore, this requires training. So therefore, it needs to make its way into the curriculum in education because they are going to be using it.
Honestly, they really are. And my nephew approached me recently for work experience. When I say work experience, it's an intern during summer, and I said, that's yeah, sure, no problem at all. And so I took him through some of the stuff that we were looking at. And can I name the university? I shouldn't name it. It's a high-end, top 10 university, right? And he's doing a computer studies degree there. And what I showed him about what is going on at the moment, he said he was just jaw dropped, because he said this is not what's being taught at the moment. And so you're absolutely right. There needs to be a faster roadmap to bring innovations to be taught for the next generation. Yeah.
Yeah, because actually those computing curriculums, they can cover the basics, but
Yeah.
are they actually equipping the students?
Yeah.
Well,
This is it.
it's moving so fast, so therefore, in a very extreme way, you could put a curriculum in place, and by next week it could be out of
It
date.
could be out of date. And this is the problem that all universities are facing.
Yeah.
The whole scene is moving so fast.
Okay, so let's talk about the ethical considerations of AI. What do we need to be aware of?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, with as with anything, all of this is going to be the frameworks that people put in place. So leaders really need to put in ethical considerations and governance frameworks within the AI systems that they're bringing into the culture. I think that's going to be key. And if there's anything that leadership needs to be trained on, it's probably this first: that if you're going to start introducing AI into your culture to any great extent, the first thing you need to do is make sure that it is monitoring biases, it's monitoring things like diversity, inclusion. All of that has to be built in, just baked into the governance and the frameworks that you're putting in for AI. So that is definitely one of the things that has to be up there.
Yeah, it's good that we covered that actually, because I didn't think about that in baking it into like governance things, and yeah, that's really important. So does AI have inbuilt biases?
Uh, the short answer, and it's probably not the one that you are wanting to hear, but yes, probably, because AI is a human-made product, and anything that is human-made will have its own biases built in. It's the biases of the programmer, and so again, we have to make sure that. Especially leadership, again, if they're looking to implement this across the culture, any program that they've got where it's going to be will have its own innate and subtle biases from the creator. So the beauty, of course, with AI, even though it's got it built in, is that you can train it to get rid of those. And so the training of an AI system when it comes into your culture has got to be ongoing. So it's continually trained and improving those models so that our organization can mitigate any of those kind of biases. That will be
Mm,
an ongoing
mm.
process.
Okay, that's interesting. So, when we're looking at AI and we're, thinking about well-being in the workplace, do you think AI can improve workplace well-being?
I think it's a really clear short answer to this. I think yes, if it's handled correctly, this is an awesome tool. And it's better than us because it could look at things like behavior and language patterns across your organization and just be able to detect the tonality in things like emails. I know it sounds weird, but it's something out of Black Mirror. But the idea that there is an overarching AI system that just looks out for well-being and looks at the email tones that are going out and things that indicate frustration or discontent within your culture, it could be picked up quite quickly, and then be flagged up for HR or for leadership to do something about before it takes root and becomes something nastier.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, because you can train the bot to look out for certain, yeah.
That agent will just, all it will do, it will act like a lovely HR person who just goes out there and just makes sure everybody's speaking politely, happily. There are no projects that are going off the rails because of the way the emails are going backwards and forwards. And if things are going off, it can come back with some sort of, I don't know, heat map about emotions, and it can just get really insightful about the nature of your culture.
Mm, very good. Very interesting.
Crazy. It's really crazy.
So look, we've got just a few more questions before we go because this is really interesting. Another fun question, Ayub. You're up for it.
Go on. I love your fun questions.
Okay, this is a really good fun one, everybody. So, okay, do you think AI can develop consciousness? And what do you think it? There's two questions actually. So, do you think AI can develop consciousness, and what do you think is the impact on wider society?
Have you got another hour for this?
No.
Yeah, this is it. So it's such a huge, it's the question of our time. It is the, and it's not only been the question of our time, but I love this area. It's the big question. And of course, it's the
Yeah.
stuff of dystopian Hollywood epics if you want to get lazy about this. But the key thing is, if you really want to get precise, even amongst us humans, the most intelligent people in the field don't really have an agreed consensus on the definition of consciousness. So we can't even argue that point. But if you mean something like sentience, then I think I think super intelligent AI systems will be even more conscious than we are, if you're thinking about it at that level, because their perception of the universe will be just so much clearer than ours.
Oh my
They'll be
God.
able to see solutions to problems much faster than we can, and it's happening now, right? So I often sit open mouthed when I just see some of the stuff that's the renderings from Midjourney, for example, some of the diagrams the photos we ask it to make, or when you listen to the two AI systems from Notebook LM. I don't know if you've listened to those. It's insane. They create a podcast. Um, I asked them to go to my website and I asked them to study myself on LinkedIn and then just create a little podcast on me. And my wife and I just sat there and we were just blown away by the way these two, they're human. There was no way you would say they're not human. These two beings are discussing who I am, my life. It emulates consciousness to a great extent. But what is consciousness? That's just another. That's a thing for another podcast.
What? So they're actually creating
Oh, I wish I could
information.
put a recording of that on this podcast because you would not think that you are listening to anything other than two professional podcasters, lovely Monday morning, having a lovely chat about something.
Wow, really?
Oh, it's we use it now. I mean, we give them topics and they train us on that topic sometimes. How's that? So if there's something that I don't really understand or I'm in too much of a rush, I'm running to an airport somewhere or whatever, I would stick the entire PDF of this technical journal to Notebook LM, and those two guys will come back and they will just explain it in the most easiest of ways.
Wow. I mean, that lends itself to the education sector as well there, I'm
Exactly.
seeing. So,
Yeah.
goodness me. Well, we've had quite a chat today
We
about
have.
all things AI and leadership. And I think we've gone beyond what I thought the conversation was going to do today. So thank you, Aya. But
Oh,
before you go,
yeah.
tell us, what exciting things have you got coming up?
Well, as I've said, it is an insane time for us, and I think this year is going to be crazy for myself and my team. We are going all in on creating this new training course, which is the impact of AI on recruitment, and that's going to go out on all of our channels through our online training academy. Snippets of it will be on our YouTube channel. I'm relaunching my book, The IT Recruitment Survival Guide, but now the 2025 version. But now it's going to have an accompanying 10 books for recruiting in different silos, like recruiting in software or recruiting big data. We also, for the first time ever, are comfortable venturing out into another sector of recruitment. So we're going to create an academy for demystifying life sciences recruitment. So that's the first in 20 years. And we're going to be creating an academy for that because that's one of my passions as well, how tech affects, medical, biotech. And we'll undoubtedly just get in probably on the AI agent action as well because we love creating little bots, and so that will be fun to pursue. Not sure how we will make money on that, but that's where we're going to go.
Wow, so it's an evolving process. Lots and lots of great things there.
Yeah.
Now, I will put the links of how people can get in touch with you in the show notes, but what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Best way is just email ayub@holistica.co.uk, of course, but also just go onto my LinkedIn profile and then just reach out to me there. You can reach out to me through our website, itrecruitmentacademy.com. All ways are good for me.
Fantastic. And before you go, I like to ask all the guests on the Think Link Lead podcast 2 core questions. So, are you ready?
Go on.
Okay, another fun questions on this podcast, everybody. So, look, because this is a leadership podcast, so who is your leadership role model and what's your favorite leadership quote?
Oh my goodness. Look, there are so many people I admire. I mean, through my life that I've looked at, and in most cases, you read their life stories and you just follow them. I revere them, and I kind of loathe them in equal measures sometimes because of the things they do. When you read the life stories of people like Elon Musk, love him,
Mm,
unbelievable genius, and
mm,
then he does some weird stuff. Steve Jobs, similarly, genius and then weird stuff. Larry Ellison, head of Oracle, came up from nothing. Love him. Bill Gates, undoubtedly, genius of his time and our time. So all of them have astounding elements to their characters. And what was the other question?
Your favorite leadership quote?
Gosh, I used to carry this around with me. I think I've got to go with John Maxwell, one of the John Maxwell's ones. I think
Mm.
something like a great leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way.
Ah, yes, I like that one
We'll go with
too.
that. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Ayub Sheikh, for absolutely just opening our minds to all things AI and leadership today. Have you had fun?
That's been amazing, actually. If anything, it's reinforced in me the love I have for this whole weird industry.
Weird but relevant industry that's very much evolving. So, listeners, thank you so much for listening. You know, I always appreciate you. I'll be back next week with more fantastic guests. Keep leading, keep learning, and that wraps up this episode of the Think Link Lead podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the discussion today and gained some valuable insights and key takeaways for your own leadership journey. Remember, this podcast is for you, so feel free to reach out to me with your thoughts, your questions, your feedback, or any suggestions for leadership topics that you would like me to cover. You can connect with me right here on LinkedIn. You can also email me at admin@thinklinklead.com, or you can just visit my website, thinklinklead.com. If you're enjoying this podcast, please show some love by following, subscribing, giving a 5-star rating, and leaving a review. Your support means so much to me and helps me to continue bringing you great content and awesome guests each week. Stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, keep learning, keep leading, and have a wonderful week.